once you get to 100%, you get your certificate, and we'd really love it if you could share that certificate on LinkedIn. And when you post your certificate, you'll get a feature to post your certificate at the end of the course. Just include hashtag Peter Alkema, or you can connect with me and then you'll be able to tag my name. Just look me up on LinkedIn and tag me in your post where you are sharing your certificate from completing this Python course. Hello, and a very warm welcome to this whiteboard overview lesson in the course that will teach you how to code in Python. So what I'm going to do in the next 10 to 15 minutes is sketch your journey as a student in this course, and you're going to have a fantastic learning path through the lessons that we've prepared for you. But I'm really just going to break down the topics that you can anticipate, just so that you know exactly what to expect and you've got the layout of the course clear in your mind before you start. So a very warm welcome from myself and your lead instructor, Laika Satish, who has got many years of experience in teaching Python. And we're really excited that you're in this course with us, and we want you to take full advantage of all the features, and we're excited to see what you'll be able to achieve with your new coding skills as you learn Python. So we are going to take you on a journey from wherever you are on Python, and perhaps you know a little bit about Python, perhaps you're more advanced, or perhaps you really are a beginner, and this course really is perfect for you. We will be able to assist you achieve your goals. So we're going to take you on a journey, and I'm going to sketch for you now what the key milestones and stepping stones are in that journey as you learn Python. So we're going to start you off with a bit of an introduction to Python and some of the key features of Python as a very popular and versatile programming language. So very important that you do get this foundation and that you go through these lessons in these initial couple of sections. So we'll talk here about the uses of Python. Many well-known websites around the world use Python. It's used in artificial intelligence, machine learning. We'll take you through a couple of the uses of Python there. We'll explain why it's known as an interpreted computer language. We'll also explain why it is easy to learn. And this is one of the attractive features of Python. And perhaps you're only getting into computer programming. And if so, I wish you absolutely everything the best. It's a fantastic career path. I've been in IT for most of my career, mainly in leadership positions, running teams of software developers and projects and so on. But I've always had a huge respect for software developers, and Python really is easy to learn. So you're in the right course to get going with your software programming career. So just continuing with this foundational level of understanding that we'll give you in the course over here. Then we'll talk about the Jupyter environment, which you'll be using quite extensively later in the course. We'll talk about Jupyter and how it relates to Python. Really important that you just go through those lessons and get those basics before you then actually make use of it later on in the course, and I'll explain, of course, exactly how you're going to do that. Right, then very importantly, Python 2.0 versus 3.0, some important things to be aware of there. Then we'll also be looking at how you assign variables. Then we'll look at the basics of Python, operations, and all just starting to build towards a working practical knowledge of the language. And by the end there, you'll see we'll be able to get you to actually start writing and creating your own software projects. And we give you, there's more than 10 in this course, and I'll list them over there, but you need to go through these basics. Learning a language, you can't just jump to the more advanced stages. So you really need to go through this learning path that I'm sketching out for you here on the whiteboard. Right. Then we will get into the Anaconda environment, really just start to explain that for you. And we'll give you actually a taste of your first project. Very exciting. So, as part of looking at Anaconda, we'll explain to you and also get you to practice using the print variables and the string function. All right, all just by way of illustrating the Anaconda environment for you there. Right, now, very excitingly, we start getting into slightly more advanced topics on your journey of becoming an expert Python programmer. Right, so what are some of those more advanced topics that we're going to get into? We'll look at reserved words and special literals. Important concepts for you to start getting to grips with. Then we'll teach you how to write a program in Python that takes user input. Okay, really starting to build on this foundational knowledge over here. Then we'll get into if statements, the while loop, also break, continue, and other statements. Right, fantastic. And all the way through this course, there are quizzes and knowledge checks. So by the time you get to this stage, you'll probably have been through 2 or 3 quizzes and knowledge checks. So we really just want to make sure that we test your knowledge and give you the confidence as you progress through this course that you're really grasping these key features. As I said earlier, you can't get to the more advanced stages and start doing some of those more complex projects unless you've really nailed the basics and build out all the key areas of knowledge about this coding language. So make sure that you do go through the quizzes and the knowledge checks in sequence with the lessons and the learning path in this course. Right, let's keep going. Then you will be getting into string operations. Now we introduced you to strings over here, and we'll get into a little bit more detail there, where we'll be talking about pass, statement, iterations, and you'll have some exposure to the split and subtract strings. And there's actually an activity in there as well. So even by the time you get to that stage, you've got a mini project that you've gone through over here, 3 or 4 quizzes, and then an activity as well there for string operations. So lots of activity. You cannot learn a language by just gaining information. You have to put it into practice, and that's really what we give you all the way through this course on Python. Then we start talking about lists. So really, I hope you can just start to see now, as we start to build up all of these concepts. Then we get to lists and dictionaries. Right, under lists and dictionaries, once again, there's a mini project. And then we'll give you what's called list and concatenation examples. Okay, key concept there that you need to be able to work with. Okay. Then we get into a very important part of learning this programming language, and we start to teach you all about classes, and object-oriented programming. This is really getting into the nuts and bolts of bringing it all together and starting to create and structure a software architecture. So, classes and object-oriented programming, let's go through what you're going to learn in there. We will start with what it is, first of all, why it's all important, and then how to use and create simple class and init method. Right. We'll look at the override method. And I'm just touching on a couple of the key concepts here. You must go through these lessons to learn exactly what that's all about and exactly how it works. And then we'll look at different types of variables. So you get, let's just put it up over here, you get the instance and class variables. Okay. And also very importantly, you get different types of inheritance. Which is an important concept to learn with this idea of classes and object-oriented programming. Right, then we start getting into functions. How are you doing? This is, I'm sketching out here the entire learning path for you in this course, and you're going to go through more than 23 hours. Obviously, you need to set time aside on a regular basis and get through it. Give yourself a few days, at least a week or more if you need to. But if you apply your mind, spend the time with us in our lessons, and now that you will be getting this landscape overview of the course, you know what to expect. You can plan a little bit better your journey through the course. So, functions. Right, what are they? Okay, functions. Why do we need them? Okay. How functions work. In Python. All right, and then you get what's called user defined and built-in functions. Okay, and you also get a thing called anonymous functions. Right, so that's all to do with functions in Python. Right, then we get into what's called exception handling. And under exception handling, we talk about what it is. We give you some examples. Right, we give you a bit of an explanation around the one and the multiple except blocks. Okay. And a few other key functions to do with exception handling. Now, Python's very useful and important for managing data. Okay, and in this field of data science and machine learning and artificial intelligence, it's very important that we give you some of that data management and data handling skills and training in this course. So we get into data pre-processing. Okay, and under data pre-processing, we teach you how to do data mining. Okay, the different types of data. Look at the different libraries. We'll look at and how you also import libraries. We'll look at dependent and independent variables. Okay, and then we'll teach you how to manage data sets. Very important. Okay. All right. Then we get into data visualization, because very important that as you're managing data and using Python to achieve that through some of the techniques that we'll teach you over there. Very important that you can visualize data, because data gives insights through the visualization of the patterns and the relationships between those different data elements in the data sets that you're analyzing using Python. All right, so we get into data visualization. Of course, after data pre-processing, then you're able to produce some patterns and visualization of that data. So we'll give you some lessons to teach you about how it is done in Python. Right, then we will talk about grouping in what's called categorical data. Okay, and a couple of other things to do with data visualization. Then we also talk about tuples in there. And tuples are where you can, well, in another section, but let me just write it down over here. And tuples in Python is where you can hold multiple items in a single variable. So we'll talk about, we'll just give you that explanation, what they are. Indexing elements. Okay, functions, etc. And once again, as I go through each of these sections, there's knowledge checks and there's quizzes and activities every step of the way throughout all of this content that I'm sketching here on your learning path. How are you doing? We're going to get now into the exciting part of the course where you'll be able to put all of these techniques actually into practice and do some projects. Just before we get there though, we're going to wrap up on the core teaching content of the course with the regular expressions. Okay, and there's some regular expressions that we teach you in there, such as extracting numbers from a string. Then we also teach you how to remove white spaces or blanks from string. Okay. And this starts to show you the versatility and the power of the Python programming language. And then, of course, there's lots more that you can do, but this really gives you absolutely everything you need to know to get started with the language. And of course, based on all of this knowledge, these new skills and techniques that we've taught you, you are then going to get into some student projects. So the projects that we have for you, which really just cement your knowledge and make sure that you are applying all of this in a way that actually demonstrates value and gives you the confidence that you started to master the language and can do more and more projects once you see how to use it to solve different problems. But we'll take you through that process with a number of projects. So we've got more than 10 in this course, and let's just start listing them over here. Okay, so the projects that we have for you is a chatbot. Okay, just going to list them over here. Chatbot. Okay, so you know when you're chatting with an app, for example, and it can interpret what you say. Remember what you learned over here about interpreting strings and removing blanks and learning what the person is trying to communicate. That's what you'll be putting into practice in this chatbot student project. You'll be doing some file handling as one of the projects. Then you'll be able to set up geometric figures and work with geometric figures. You'll be able to convert an image to a pencil sketch. So working with images and doing things with them, teaching you how to do that. That's one of the projects. And again, we'll take you step by step through the process of setting that up so that you can see how you apply these techniques to actually solve problems and provide real value to users of your software programs, which is really, really exciting. Then we teach you how to do a project that will convert text to speech. So once again, lots of string operations, you remember over here. So managing those strings to develop a chatbot, and then again managing strings in text and converting that into audible speech. So incredibly, incredibly powerful. Right, so text to speech project over here. Then a YouTube video downloader. Right, we'll show you how to set up an automatic password generator. Okay, a countdown timer. Great, a fizz buzz game. Fizz buzz game, fidget spinner. Great one for the kids. And a payroll calculator. And very importantly, one of the projects is facial detection. So again, working with images, but now applying rules and other libraries to detect a person's face and achieve other outcomes with this fantastic student software coding project. So facial detection. All right, and that's your student project. So once you've gone through this learning path here, these fantastic lessons in the course, done the quizzes, the knowledge checks, gone through the content, applied that content as you go, you'll then be able to apply all of that to achieve bigger objectives as I've listed there in those student projects. A couple of other key features in this course. Just to remind you, very importantly, we would like you to introduce yourself. So we really want to know, what is your goal with learning Python? What stage are you at in your software programming journey? And everybody else can comment and introduce themselves and have a bit of a discussion on the board in this course, and we explain to you how to do that and go through that process. We really want to build a community of students in this course, so do please introduce yourself and let us know what are your goals. So share your goals and we'll comment on those and we'll help you, and we may even assist you by pointing you to specific lectures in the course that will be most useful for you to achieve your goals. So we're active and engaged within this course, and if you can tell us where you are on your journey and what your goals are, then it helps us to support you as best as possible. Okay, then as I said, there's lots of quizzes and knowledge checks. Right, and activities, and of course all these projects over here. Then you must ask questions. You can bookmark lectures as you go, but please get in touch with us if you've got any questions about any of the content in the course. Then we also celebrate your progress. So at 25%, 50%, 75%, and then at 100% of your completion of this course, I'll be checking in with you to celebrate your progress and just encourage you to keep going. And of course, once you get to 100%, you get your certificate, and we'd really love it if you could share that certificate on LinkedIn. And when you post your certificate, you'll get a feature to post your certificate at the end of the course. Just include hashtag Peter Alkema, or you can connect with me and then you'll be able to tag my name. Just look me up on LinkedIn and tag me in your post where you are sharing your certificate from completing this Python course. Right, then very importantly, most of the lessons have downloadable reference worksheets attached to the lessons. So you get a whole lot of worksheets, which in most cases are the slides and the material that our lead instructor, like Satish, has been teaching you from. And then we not only provide those to you for each of the individual lessons, so you may be a bit selective around the lessons that you want to do. You can get the downloadable resources for each of those lessons as a reference to take forward. But we've also then created a master workbook, which really consists of all of those worksheets, and that's a couple of 100 pages of all of the reference material in this course, and you can download that single PDF, and perhaps that's going to be more useful for you to get everything in one file. Once again, very easy for you to download that. I preview that workbook in the introduction, and you can download it from that same lesson. Right. And most importantly, we want you to engage. We want you to go through the lessons. We want you to, of course, introduce yourself, do the activities, make sure that you've got the libraries and everything around you that supports your learning process, because as we go through these, to learn a language, you have to practice it. You have to put into practice. You have to learn for yourself how to do these things. You can't learn to swim in a library. And we want you to be very active in your coding environment, which will show you how to set up so that you can then put what you've learned into practice on a very regular basis as you learn all about Python. All right, so I'm just going to very quickly recap everything that we cover in this course on learning Python. So let's just go through it very quickly. So introduction and key features over here, really establishing the foundation for you in this course. Then we get into more advanced features, a couple of different statements that you learn there. Anaconda as an environment and your first sort of mini project that you can go through using string functions, and extending on that, a section on string operations, lists and dictionaries, and then these functions that I mentioned over here and how they work in Python. And remember this difference between the user-defined and the built-in functions over there. And then, of course, this very important section over here of classes and object-oriented programming. We teach you those methods, then the instance and the class variables and the different types of inheritance, also very important for you to grasp to become an expert in Python. Then we looked at exception handling. That's a whole section that we'll go through in the course. And then very importantly, this whole idea of data science and the ability to use a language like Python to interpret data, to visualize it, and to help people get insights from that data. And that's what gives companies competitive advantage. They have access to all of this incredible data, and they need clever software programmers like you to manage those data sets. So we teach you how to do that. We teach you how to pre-process all of that data, how to import libraries, how to manage the different types of variables, etc. That's all in this field of data pre-processing and data visualization. Tuples, regular expressions, and then of course the projects that I mentioned over there, things like a chatbot, converting an image to a pencil sketch. So again, strings and images, very important that you practice how to work with those, because you get a lot of applications using text and images in the world today. So for example, over here we'll show you, and you'll be able to create your own text-to-speech converter in Python. There's an automatic password generator, there's a countdown timer, fidget spinner, and then very importantly, one of the most widely used applications of interpreting images in the world today is of course facial recognition. I open up my phone every day using exactly that feature. So you'll be able to learn how to do that as a result of going through this course. Right, so good luck. We want you to succeed, become an expert Python programmer, and if you go through the lessons in this course and you invest the time and really apply your mind and consider the incredible value that we've created for you in this course and make the most of it, then we almost guarantee you, and in fact if you're not happy we'll give you a refund, but you have to put the time in, you have to take action, have to take advantage of all these extra value adds, build some or all of those projects, and we pretty much absolutely guarantee that you will learn Python, you'll be able to apply it, and your career as a software programmer will just continue to flourish. So good luck. We look forward to seeing you, myself and Leica, in the lessons.